Welcome to another S&P 500 Trade Watch analysis. Today is August 21st, 2022. The S&P 500 and the SPY have tagged the magical trend line and the 200 moving average last week. So what will they do now? In this S&P 500 Trade Watch video, we will analyze the S&P 500 ETF, the SPY, the NASDAQ 100 ETF, the Qs, the Russell 2000 ETF, IWM, and the two of the FANG stocks, Apple and Tesla. Stay tuned. Just a reminder, earlier last week, I have started posting on Substack, a newsletter posting site. I made a couple of posts to follow up on the price scenario that I have discussed in last week's Trade Watch video. So go check it out. The link is smtraderCA.substack.com. And if you like the content in this video, be sure to click the thumbs up to give it a like to help promote this video on YouTube. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, click the subscribe and the notification icon. As always, if you have any question or comment, please post them in the comment section below. Now let's get on with the analysis. All right, let's start off with this weekly chart of the SPY. As you can see that last week it printed a bearish shooting star candle. And also here's the trend line that we all been watching. And here are the battle zone that I see it in the near term. You know, we have this support area here. The price is still above the support, basically this pivot high. And right now, the battle between the bears and the bulls is, would it go up or would it come back down? And if it come back down, would it take out this low? You know, a lot of people are still looking for a new low because they are looking at this is not the bottom. But before that, we also have this potential support here. So the key thing is if it break below this pivot high here, would it come down and find support at this level, or would it come down and try to find support at the June low? Now, you know, right now we are not even going to go below this low yet because there's still a lot of battle to be fought. Because the other one here is for the bulls. Would it be able to come up here and take out this high and then move into new all-time high? So that's the other things that we need to also bear in mind of the possibility. So there is still a lot of battles here to be fought before we could even come down and say, yeah, we'd be looking at this prices down here, this pre-pandemic pivot high. Now let's take a look at the daily chart of the SPY. As you can see, last week it came up to this trend line here and then it backed off. Remember we talked about this balance area that we're looking for the SPY to find balance here, do a little bit of balance and then get into the imbalance and move down toward this 420 level. And as you can see, it starting to do that on Friday. So the question now is that would it continue to come down toward that 420 level and possibly down into this balance area? Now notice that last week's the lower range of the expected move and also the upper range of the expected move was not tagged. So we're going to take this off right now so it doesn't clutter up the chart here. And the next week's expected move upper range is between 431.60 and 430.30. And also the lower range of the expected move is between 414 and 411. Now notice that the lower range of the expected move is inside of this balance area. So one of the possible scenarios that I'd be watching for the coming week is for the price to continue to move down and get into this high volume zone here and do a little bit of a balancing and also tagging the lower range of the expected move and see would it be able to hold balance here, and then we will wait for the next move down or a bounce back up. So the near term is, you know, watch for a pullback into this high volume zone or this potential balance area and see would it you know, be able to find support here and also testing the lower range of the expected move. And if the market decides to continue to push higher, then look for this balance area to get punched through and come up to this upper range of the expected move and into the next potential balance area, which would be up here in this area here, somewhere around 435 to 448. So that would be the approximate range of this potential balance area. So look for a move up, and also that will break this trend line. So those are the positive and the negative scenario for the coming week on the SPY. Now, if you ask me what am I expecting, I'm expecting a little bit more pullback, continuation of a pullback. But is that what's going to happen? No. But that is basically what I'm expecting. If neither of my scenario happen, then we just sit on our hand and wait for another day at another trade, right? We do not have to trade constantly. And here for the QQQ, the ETF for the NASDAQ 100 on a weekly chart, we're not seeing a pronounced shooting star type of a candle as we saw on the SPY, but it is a little bit of a bearish hammer-like or inverted hammer type of a candle here. And also the other thing is we did not see that trend line tagging right at the top of the trend line. So you can see that depending on where you're, that's why I say trend line is very subjective, right? So you see that, do you call this a breakout or do you call this a fake out? Well, we don't know, right? Because right now it's still sitting up here and it could move through and come up to this zone or even possibly to an all-time high. Who say it won't do that, right? I don't know. Certainly right now, I mean, these are the battle zone that we need to keep an eye on. Look at here, it broke to this pivot high, but it could also come back down to this pivot high as well, and also the June low. So again, similarly to the SPY, if it come down, watch these zone, these levels here, for potential reversal or potential price action for it to do whatever we want to do. Right? And then on the upside, it's come up to these pivot highs here, and then here is the all-time high. So those are the battle zones that we need to bear in mind. Now, a lot of people are still looking for a new low. And here's the daily chart of the QQQ. As you can see, last week it came down and tagged the lower range of the expected move on Friday. It might very close right near at it. So that kind of got taken care of on this particular expected move. And right now I'm just going to take it out. So the expected move for next week, the upper range is somewhere around between 332.50 and 331.30. And the lower range of the expected move is between 314.15 and 311. So you can see right now it's basically inside of this high volume zone here. And it is continue to come down next week on a pullback. Then here is what I see on the downside is to come down to this high volume zone here, maybe chop around and break into this lower range of the expected move and see what get it a bounce back out. And if it doesn't, then we probably will see a little bit more of a chop and try to balance into this balance area here. Now on the upside, and if it decides to come up, then we'll look for a break of this balance area and into this upper range of the expected move and possibly move up to the next balance area and see what it come in here and try to establish balance inside of this balance area here. So those are the upside and downside scenario. And like I said, just like the SPY, my expectation for the coming week is a little bit more of a continuation of a pullback, and I will be basically looking for the possibility of breaking this balance area and dip into the lower range of the expected move. And here's the IWM, the weekly chart of the IWM. Now look at this right here. If I draw the trend line here, you call this a breakout? Definitely we saw it made a a higher high, took out this pivot high here. So again, we are seeing a lot of potential battle zone between the bulls and the bear. Right, the on the foremost on the upside is right here near 210, and then up here near the 230, and then the the all-time high up here. Okay, so those are the possibility on the upside. Not saying that it's going to do that, but those are the potential battle zone between the bulls and the bear. Then on the downside, we also have this right here, somewhere around 175, and then also the low here. Now we won't even get into talking about this gap here until some of these battle has been taking place up here. Okay, so that is the weekly chart. Now let's go and take a look at the daily and see what are some of the potential upside downside scenario for the coming week for IWM. And here on the daily chart for the IWM, notice that it did come in and close inside of the lower range of last week's expected move. You see it, try to do a little bit of balancing here inside of this balance zone, and then it broke just like the SPY and also the QQQ on Friday. It broke down from the balance area and in the process of possibly moving down to the next balance area. In this case, is somewhere around this 189, 190 area. So right now, we're basically looking at the expected range, the upper zone, the upper range for the expected move for the coming week is between 200.20 and 199.50. That is the upper range of the expected move. And then the lower range is between 189.80 and 188. So those are the range that we are looking at. Now here the downside scenario that I will be watching is the continuation to move down and try to get into this balance area, tag the lower range of the expected move, and then try to find balancing in here and see what it be able to pop back up, and try to work its way back up to this balance area at 196. Now, not to say that it could not just stay here. I mean, right now the near-term scenario for the downside is basically look for this thing to come into this area here, come into this balance area, dip below this 190 and into this lower range of the expected move. Now, the upside scenario is to come back in to this balance area and then move up, tag the upper range, and maybe just chop around inside of this balance area and set up for the next move to come up into the above the 205, 207 area. So that's basically what I'm looking at for the coming week. And I'm going to remove these ranges from last week. Now here's a weekly chart for Apple. Look at this, Greystone Doji here. This is very bearish when it get up on the top, forming these type of candle. So beware of potential pullback on Apple. Now, I'm not saying that there is no possibility for this thing to come up and put in a new high. That is certainly a possibility there, but the probability is low for it to do that. My expectation is for Apple to do a little bit of a pullback, because you notice that it's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 consecutive up weeks. We only got a little bit of a modest down week last week, but although it did have a quite of a range also. So we've got this Greystone Doji, or you could call this shooting star doji, or whatever you want to call it. It is a bearish type of candle, and we have to bear in mind to look for a potential pullback on here for Apple. So looking at the daily chart of Apple, you can see that it did come up, almost tag the upper range of last week's expected move. So and then it pulled back, broke out of this balance area, and then it pulled back in on Friday. I'm going to remove this this range here, and the coming week, the upper range of the expected move is somewhere around 176.75 to 176.20, and the lower range of the expected move is 166.85, 165. So those are the ranges for the coming week to keep an eye on. Now, as far as the scenario on the downside, if we are looking for Apple to pull back from that Greystone Doji, then we look for this thing to come down, take out this balance area, move down into this 168 area, this balance zone, and possibly, come in and chop around here inside of this lower range of the expected move between 166.85 and 165. So that is the downside scenario. And then for the upside scenarios, basically come up toward this upper range at this 176 and re-enter this balance area and possibly chop around in this balance area between 176 and 179 area. So those are the upside and downside scenario for Apple. And finally, looking at Tesla, here's the weekly chart for Tesla. And you can see that there is, if we put in a trend line here, it looks like the price come up to this trend line could easily get up to this 1,000 area. So right now, basically, you're looking at these potential resistance and support area zone somewhere up at this 900, 910 area. And if it could break through this, maybe there's a good possibility for it to come up to this trend line near the 1,000 level. Now, on the downside, we're basically looking at somewhere around this 800 and 790 area. So it could come down here. And there is also the possibility of this low here, somewhere around 630. Okay, so that is on the weekly. So let's go and take a look at the daily chart. And here on the daily chart, you can see that it did not tag the upper or the lower range of the expected move last week. So I'm going to take these out. So kind of clean up the chart a little bit. And here are the ranges for next week. The upper range of the expected move is between 957.50 and 938.50. Then the lower range of the expected move is between 841.50 and 830. Okay, so those are the ranges. And right now it is sitting right inside of this balance area. So for the coming week, we expect to see it maybe chop around inside this balance. If it's right below this balance area, then we see it come down and tag this lower range of the expected move at 841 and 830 area. And on the upside, we're basically looking for it to come up to this upper range of the balance area and break through, come up to this upper range of the expected move between 957 and 938, and then possibly come in, fill this, basically get into this low volume zone and move back into the upper balance area here. Then we could see that 1,000 level could be in play. Okay, so those are the upside and downside scenarios for Tesla for the coming week. So I hope you find these videos to be useful, informative, and if you do, be sure to click the thumbs up, let me know, and also help me promote this video on YouTube. Thank you for watching and stay safe.